Today, we're going to look at a really simple, but honestly, a really powerful way to understand any culture. This idea actually comes from the world of Japanese language education, but you'll see pretty quickly it's a tool you can use for just about anything, anywhere you are. So let me just ask you, when you think about learning a culture, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it the food, the big historical sites, holidays? And yeah, those are all great starting points, but they don't always give you the full story of what it's actually like to live in a place, day in and day out. For a long, long time, when we taught culture, the focus was always on what you might call grand traditional culture. We're talking ancient temples, super formal tea ceremonies, traditional theater. And look, that stuff is absolutely fascinating, but it can also feel kind of distant from our own lives, right? It doesn't really tell us what life is like today. And this, you can imagine, is a real headache for teachers. So many of them feel like they just don't have enough time, or the deep expertise, or even just the right angle to teach culture in a meaningful way. It can feel like this huge, impossible task. So a new idea started to bubble up. What if we shifted the focus? What if we moved away from only the grand, historical stuff, and instead we zoomed way in on the mundane? On the ordinary, everyday routines that, well, we can all recognize and compare to our own lives. And this is where it gets really powerful. This simple little change makes culture so much more accessible. All of a sudden, it's not some abstract thing you have to study in a textbook. It becomes something real, something you can actually relate to. This is really the heart of it. It's just so much easier to understand other people when you can see parts of your own life reflected back at you. Especially for younger learners, looking at something as simple as a school lunch lets them build a bridge. Yeah, they can see the differences, but maybe more importantly, they start to find all this surprising common ground. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we analyze everyday life in a way that makes sense? Well, lucky for us, there's this fantastic framework known as the 3 Ps, and it's a simple but really powerful tool to get the job done. It breaks down just like this. First, you've got products. That's the what. These are the tangible things you can literally see and touch. Food, a phone, clothes, you name it. Next up are the practices. That's the how. These are the behaviors, the social norms that go with those products. So not just the food, but how you eat it. And finally, and this is the most important one, perspectives. That's the why. These are the invisible values, the beliefs, the ideas that explain the other two. A perfect way to picture this is the cultural iceberg. The stuff we can easily see, the products and the practices, that's just the tip sticking out of the water. But the real driver, the massive invisible foundation under the surface that shapes everything else, that's the perspectives. And that's what we're really trying to understand. All right, enough theory. Let's actually put this tool to work. We're going to take a look at a photo from a Japanese high school and see what we can figure out together. Okay, so here we have a pretty normal scene. Some students having lunch. The first step is just to observe. No judging, no jumping to huge conclusions yet. We're just going to call out the products, the what, and the practices, the how. Now, here's a really, really crucial part of this whole thing. We are not just looking for what's different, we're also looking for what's the same. So notice they're eating in groups with their friends. That's pretty universal, right? They've got desks, chairs, things to drink. But then, yeah, we also see clear differences. Eating inside the classroom, wearing uniforms while they eat, and of course, the bento boxes and chopsticks. Spotting both is the key to building real empathy. So we've done our observation. We've seen the tip of the iceberg. But now we have to ask the most important question of all. Why? What does this all point to? What are the perspectives hiding underneath? And this is where the real fun begins. We get to be detectives. Why eat in the classroom? Maybe it's about efficiency. Or maybe it's about building a stronger community in the homeroom. And what about those super neat bento boxes? Could that point to a wider cultural value on presentation? Or maybe the personal care a parent puts into making their kids' lunch? See, the goal isn't to find the one single right answer. The goal is to train our brains to ask these deeper questions. This is so important. This whole method is designed to actually fight against stereotypes. It would be so easy to stop and say, oh, all Japanese people do X. But this approach forces us to see that no culture is just one thing. And this is a perfect illustration. If someone only ever showed you the traditional Japanese breakfast, you'd walk away with a pretty narrow idea. But when you see it right next to a modern breakfast of toast and coffee, it shows you the diversity that exists inside the culture. There's not just one Japanese way, just like there's no single American way or British way.
So, what's the big payoff here? What's the whole point of this process? Well, it's about a lot more than just understanding a school lunch.
The whole point of the 3 Ps isn't to turn you into a walking encyclopedia of fun facts. It's about building a mental muscle. It's about literally developing a new way of seeing the world and thinking about it. I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it just hits the nail on the head. The goal is not to find some final, definitive answer. The goal is to get better at the process itself, the process of looking for connections and getting curious about what's different instead of just judging it. And that right there, that is a skill you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter if you're traveling, meeting new neighbors, or just watching a foreign movie. You'll have this tool in your back pocket to approach the world with a little more curiosity and a lot less fear. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Next time you have lunch, take a second and look at it. What are the products? What are the practices? And most importantly, what are the perspectives hiding just beneath the surface? What does your lunch say about you and the culture you live in? Think about it. Thanks for tuning in.